Today, we are going to transform your victim consciousness. Anywhere you are consciously or unconsciously feeling like a victim in your business, in your finances, in your life. Victim consciousness is one of the ways that you block your power to create, or you block your power to manifest. It's very normal to live from victim consciousness, to play the blame game, to blame others for what's happening in your life, to feel disempowered based on life's circumstances. It's very normal to project onto others or other situations and make external circumstances or people or events the reason why your life is as it is. It's actually a very easy approach. It doesn't take a lot of energy, but it can give you a false sense of feeling better somehow. And I witness people living from victim consciousness all of the time. I hear it in the way that people speak. I see it in the way that people show up or don't show up in their business and their finances and their life. And although it's a very normal way to live and a normal way to speak, it does not help you to create in your life. It is a huge block to manifesting. It leaks your energy and it dims your power. So although it's understandable, what we want to do is make sure that you are seeing where you go into victim consciousness, becoming aware of victim consciousness running you, consciously or unconsciously, and then work on alchemizing that, transforming that, turning that around so you can step back into manifestation mastery, so you can step back into your power to create. So this is what we want to highlight today. I have felt a victim of life circumstances many, many times, and I understand this very much personally as well. It is a very understandable approach, but it does not help us to move forward. So I work very actively and mindfully to witness when victim consciousness shows up in my life and to turn it around. It can feel a little bit harder in the moment to shift that belief or shift that mindset, but it costs you a lot to stay in victim consciousness. It's a huge leak, and it might be a slow drip of where you give your power away. And we want to help you to reclaim your power. And this really actually has nothing to do with the external world and what's going on around you. This is everything to do with your relationship with yourself and your relationship with life, and transforming your beliefs, perceptions, and point of views around that. But it's going to be easier in a sense in the short term to go into victim consciousness, to play the blame game, to project, to make everyone and everything else responsible, rather than taking responsibility for the results that are showing up in your life. Something that I like to call radical self-responsibility. But in the moment, maybe of a trigger or an issue, it can seem and be easier to go into that. But it is short-term gain potentially for long-term pain, because that victim consciousness will leak, drip, 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 and drain you over time. So we want to turn that around, shift it as quickly as possible, and get you back into the driver's seat of your life, the driver's seat of your life. So what we want to do is start to just first hold the space to be willing to see where victim consciousness is showing up for you. That could be feeling like a victim in your business, feeling like a victim in your finances, feeling like a victim in relationships, feeling like a victim in life. Essentially where you feel disempowered and projecting that lack of power on external circumstances or external situations. So I want to start the session by holding the space to be able to see where that is alive in you, where it is running you. And because a lot of it, you may be consciously aware to a degree where that's going on, but this will also be running you unconsciously. So let's just open up the space to see where there are victim consciousness leaks going on inside of you. And we're doing this from a place of the wealthy witness. I'm all about releasing judgment, releasing criticism, releasing you from the shame, blame cycle, so you can see what's going on. Because once you can see what's going on, then you have the power to shift it and change it. I also like to flood a lot of love and compassion on these parts. The part of you that may feel like a victim. The part of you that may have in real life been a victim in the past. It doesn't mean that that doesn't exist as a possibility, either past or present, but in terms of transforming your life, in terms of stepping into your power, and in terms of becoming a manifestation master, seeing yourself as a victim will not help you. So this is where we come from this conversation. We're not ignoring or pretending that things didn't happen or aren't happening, but we want to help you to get back into the driver's seat of your life so you can move forward and build the future that you truly desire. From my experience with victim consciousness, this is usually coming from your inner child, from a wounded part of the self, a part that I call the unheld, unloved, unheard aspects. And children, in a sense, are victims or can be victims in the sense that children are dependent. They're dependent on adults for their survival, for their growth, for their development. And they need that external support in order to grow and thrive. And yet what happens is when we have unhealed or unprocessed aspects of our inner child, maybe from past trauma or events, it keeps those parts frozen in time and they can still be playing out in our adult self. So what I see a lot is that full-grown adults are not actually leading from their empowered adult self. They're actually taking action from the reaction of their inner child, right, or their victim consciousness. And for me, leadership and being better business owners and more empowered humans in the world means we want to lead from our adult. We want to lead from our whole, healed, abundant self while holding that inner child, because those wounded aspects of the inner child, the victim consciousness, they need to be held so we're not unconsciously leading from those parts and those places. So lots of love and compassion for the victim consciousness part of you that is most likely being run from an unhealed aspect of the self, your inner child. And it also is a habit. It's a habit to go into the shame, blame cycle or the victim consciousness cycle. But again, I find that the most empowering way to transform and alchemize this is from love and compassion, is from being the witness rather than criticism, being hard on yourself, because that actually keeps everything locked into place as well. Okay, beautiful. So my question for you is just to meditate on or ponder on is, where is victim consciousness showing up for you? Where have you been feeling like a victim in your business, your finances, and your life? I'd like you to think about one area where you can see this showing up. So I'm just going to give you a minute to think about this and write down what comes into your awareness. Let's welcome that part into today's session, into the room, into the conversation. And there's usually a vulnerability that lives inside a victim consciousness. And we go into victim consciousness because really we don't want to feel the vulnerability underneath that. There's a feeling that you don't want to feel. And that feeling that you don't want to feel keeps you projecting outwards rather than going inwards. So let's welcome as well this vulnerability or the feeling that you don't want to feel that's keeping you in this victim consciousness loop or cycle. So we're welcoming where you've been going into victim consciousness. We're acknowledging the vulnerability under that victim consciousness and the feeling that you don't want to feel within there. Beautiful. So I've done a lot of sessions and trainings on healing your inner child and working on how to hold your inner child and alchemize the aspects of the self, the unheard, unheld, unloved parts of you that can keep you in these cycles. So you might want to tap into some of those resources, because what happens when these parts of the self have unresolved pain or unresolved issues, aspects that have not been heard, not been acknowledged, these parts have a real need to be heard, held, acknowledged, witnessed, so they can heal and come home. And we tend to somewhere long for that to come from the outside world in. And yes, it's incredibly healing to have these parts be heard, held, acknowledged, maybe an apology or an acknowledgement of the impact. I know that I've spent years hoping and praying to have certain things acknowledged from my past that weren't acknowledged. And it's very, very painful. And yet, if you're waiting for external circumstances or people to give you that thing, you may be waiting for a very, very long time. That's definitely one of the ways that I held myself back massively. I was playing a waiting game, hoping and praying that I'd receive what I wanted from the outside world, from certain relationships, from certain situations. And what ended up happening for me is I was just waiting. My life was on hold. I was on pause, unable to move forward. And although there was some value in that, I've learned a lot in terms of moving the mark forward and creating into your future. This can be a huge block. It definitely was in my case. So I don't want you to hold yourself back for as long as I did. And let's turn this beautiful ship around. So let's welcome this part of you that has felt like a victim. And we want to help to take the part of you that's going to victim consciousness and bring them into an empowered place, back home, to feeling empowered. Now, what this means is pulling back everywhere that you've been projecting onto others, shifting the blame onto external situations. In a sense, leaking your energy, because what you're doing in that situation is you're giving your energy away. You're actually giving your power to external situations. You're making someone else or something else more powerful than you. And this is fine, but it's not going to help you to step into your power, to manifest what you desire, to create what you want. It's just going to keep you in a loop, stuck and spinning. And again, that is fine, but it's not going to support you to move the mark forward. So this is where you need to make a choice. Do you want to stay in the loop or in the stuck cycle of victim consciousness, where you're giving your power away, where you're leaking your energy? Or do you want to get into the saddle, take the reins, get into the driver's seat, come back into your power to create what it is that you desire? And so that is my invitation. I'm always going to call you back into that place. That's what we're here to do. And I would say it's not always easy to do that, or it doesn't feel easy. It's very simple, doesn't always feel easy, because it means letting go. It means letting go. So before we dive into our activation today, there's a couple of things I just want to repeat, which is victim consciousness will be coming from these wounded inner child aspects, maybe past trauma, past hurt, past harm, that wants to heal and is longing to be resolved, and hoping and praying it's going to come from some external resource. And again, it can do, but I found mostly the work starts within. If you want to get something happen from outside of you, you need to start within, from my experience. And on top of that, it's also a habit. It's a habit, and it's learned behavior. We are taught to be victims in life. So we need to shift this habit of behavior of going into victim consciousness, or feeling like a victim, or going to the blame cycle, projecting your problems onto others, projecting your problems outside of yourself, making other people or other sort of situations or circumstances responsible for the results you're experiencing in your life. And again, you can do that all day long, but it's not going to support you to consciously create what you want. It's an energy leak, and you're actually giving your power away. So my invitation is to turn that around, to make a choice, to step into the reins, step into the ring, take the reins, step in the driver's seat, and turn this around. So we're going to go, and I'm going to take you through an activation now to support you with this. And again, there's levels and layers to shifting and changing victim consciousness. On a very simple level, it's about making a choice to step out of it, right? If you notice yourself going into it, make a choice to step out of it. Simple as that. Break the habit, break the cycle. And on the deeper levels and layers of transforming victim consciousness, we're looking at working on healing your inner child, right? And taking responsibility for that journey as well. Holding this part of yourself, hearing this part of yourself, loving this part of yourself, bringing them home, and doing that work for yourself. And the most extraordinary thing I have found is when we do that for ourselves, I found for myself, when I give that to myself, then sometimes I start to receive the thing I wanted externally. But I have to do the inner work first, and then I start receiving it externally. So interesting. Because victim consciousness actually rejects and repels the very thing that we want. It pushes away. It pushes away. It creates separation between yourself and what you want. And what we want is to do the inner shift, the inner alchemy, so you can start to draw towards you what it is that you truly desire. What it is that you truly desire. So before we dive in a little bit deeper, flooding all the love and compassion to you, all these parts of yourself. There can be a lot of confusion with victim consciousness, with our wounded inner child aspects as well. And so we want to hold all of that as you come back home to your power, to your ability to manifest and consciously create. So I'd like to invite you to get nice and comfortable, because we're going to go into a deeper activation now, and to close your eyes, to breathe into your belly. And so you may have already identified where you've been going into victim consciousness. If you've identified that, then we just want to bring that into the space. If you can't see where this is living inside of you, that's okay as well. We'll still be able to do beautiful work in today's session. Sometimes these parts are really buried and hidden. So I'd like you to take some beautiful deep breaths into your body, into your belly. And we start by breathing deep and in, slow, deep inhalations and exhalations, and breathing you back home into your center. Breathing yourself back home into your center. And we're going to start to call back your energy, call back your power. So anywhere you've been giving your power away, projecting your energy out to external situations, going into that victim consciousness, we're going to, it's a little bit like a fishing rod. If you've caught a fish, we want to pull the line in. We're wanting to start to call your energy back into your body. So we are going to pull your energy back in now. So anywhere you've been consciously or unconsciously giving your energy away, leaking your energy, giving your power away, going into victim consciousness, blaming, projecting outwards, we are going to call that energy back in and back home. Breathing it all back in into your body and breathing right down into your belly, right back down into your belly. Calling all of that energy back in. And I always like to acknowledge or apologize anywhere you've been going into victim consciousness, the projections or the shame blame cycle, to just apologize for doing that to yourself and to others. I'm so sorry. Everywhere I've been going into victim consciousness, unconsciously projecting or blaming, I call all of that back in now, and I am sorry. Because ultimately you hurt and harm yourself when you do this, as well as sometimes hurting and harming others unintentionally, usually. So an acknowledgement, an apology is very, very powerful. Beautiful. So we're breathing yourself back in, breathing yourself back home. And as I said earlier, we project out because deep inside there is a vulnerability, or there's a feeling that you just don't want to feel, it just feels too uncomfortable. So we turn this around by being willing to feel the feeling you don't want to feel. So what is that feeling that you don't want to feel? You've been avoiding. We're going to go and we're going to breathe with it. Welcoming that feeling, breathing into your belly, allowing it to be here. Feelings, their emotions, energy and motion. And just like the weather, this too shall change. When you can breathe with it, stay present with it, it will start to move. When you avoid feeling, it keeps energy stuck, unable to move forward. So we're going to breathe and be brave and feel the feeling and allow it to move through you and transform. We're going to breathe all the love into this feeling, into this space, into these unheld, unheard, unloved aspects that can feel alone, unsupported, unloved, scared, in fear, in shame. We're going to breathe into it. We're going to breathe into it. You can see, feel, imagine, know, flooding these feelings and these parts of you with all of the love. It's universal energy, source energy, earth's energy flooding you and flooding this part and flooding these feelings. All the love, all the support. And in here, you may find, I like to call the void space of the in-between, where we're creating space that is the unknown to our brain. And the brain often gets very uncomfortable with the unknown. But this is also the space of creation. So as you breathe and alchemize the feelings that you don't want to feel and breathe deep down into the belly, we're sitting with space, or it can look like darkness or nothingness or the void, but it is pure creation and is where manifestation happens. Holding space, being with space. It's the known unknown. So breathe deep down into the belly. And we're calling yourself back home into this space within. We are reconnecting you to your power to create, to your innate creative power. And from here, you can ask yourself, what is it that you want? So when you have an experience where you're experiencing something that you don't want, or there's the lack, or a pain, or a problem, you want to take that and flip it. What do you want? What's the opposite of that? What do you long for? What do you want to experience? What do you want to have? What do you want to feel? Calling on the courage to claim what you truly want and desire. What do you want? And this may be something you've never experienced before. You may not have the lived experience of what it is that you truly long for and truly desire. So we're holding space for something that you may not have the lived experience of. And this is where our brains can really get in the way of this process. But deep down inside of you, that heart, body, soul aligned consciousness, this part of you knows how to receive this, how to welcome this in, how to manifest this experience. So breathe down and in, breathe down and in, hold space for what you want. And this does take courage, and it is vulnerable. It's powerful and vulnerable. So breathing that in, welcoming what you truly want into this space now. Holding this deep in your belly, holding this deep in your body. Beautiful. And part of the mastery of manifestation is holding what you want before it has landed in your physical reality. Holding it, honoring it, hearing it, and giving this to yourself. And in this space of holding, hearing, honoring, we're starting to create a vortex of receiving, where you start to draw what you want towards you. Your body needs to learn how to receive this. Know that you're allowed, you're deserving, you're worthy, you're safe. It's time to welcome this in. Allowing it in, breathing it in. It's rewiring to receive. Victim consciousness gives us a false sense of power, but it actually leaks your power. This process now, we come home to yourself to heal, to hear, to honor yourself. Giving it to yourself starts to draw what you want towards you. Reclaiming your power to manifest. This gentle power. It's a power that also includes vulnerability. Breathing that in, welcoming that in. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. We are rewiring to receive, and we are rewriting the old stories, the old habits, the old beliefs, the old point of view, perception. So let's tap into the part of you that is already manifested, already created what you want. This empowered consciousness or abundance consciousness, wealth consciousness. What does this part of you know? What does this part of you do? How does this part of you live? The state of being. So we are starting to train yourself into this abundance consciousness, wealth consciousness, empowered consciousness. Developing this new skill, this new state of being, this new habit. Welcoming this into your beautiful body. Welcoming the power and the vulnerability of this state of being. Beautiful. I'm going to ask that every single cell in your body become the vibrational frequency of the state of being now. I'm going to ask that this integrates as your lived experience now. And you continue to embody this state of being now and moving forward. holding space. Beautiful. Deeply honoring this part of you, hearing this part of you, holding this part of you as you go on the healing journey to come home to who you are, to your creative power, to your ability to manifest through all of life's ups and downs. Wins and losses, pain and pleasure. You keep showing up to this beautiful work. Gorgeous. So taking a few more deep breaths into this beautiful state of being. Let's give thanks to all of the energies that have been working with you, through you, and for you. Let's give thanks to you for being willing to show up and do this work. And let's also give thanks to the challenges, pain, and problems that have been happening outside of you that have been the activator, the initiator, the inspiration to bring you back home to yourself. And remember that this is a discipline and that this is a practice. You're creating new healthy habits, embodying new states of being. Be patient with yourself as you take this one step at a time. And I'd like you to write down any insights, any guidance, any wisdom that came through from today's activation to remind yourself in those moments where you forget. Thank you for joining us for today's training and activation, Transform Your Victim Consciousness. I would love to know what you received from today's session. What did you see? What came into your awareness? Please share in the comments below. I would love to know. And if you would like any support with transforming your blocks to manifesting, to consciously creating what you want in your business, in your finances, and your personal life, I would love to invite you to apply for my free wealth expansion session. This is an online Zoom session where we'll connect one-to-one for 60 minutes, and we will look at where you're currently stuck or blocked, the challenges, the pain, problems that are showing up for you in your business and your finances, and we'll get crystal clear on what it is that you want, where you're unconsciously creating this pain or problem, how to shift it, how to alchemize it, how to move forward. This is my gift and my superpower to help you see what is going on in your inner game that's creating your outer game, and how to shift this around and step into that next level of heart, body, soul aligned wealth, heart, body, soul aligned success in your business, your finances, and your life. So you can go to my website, larawaldman.com, click on breakthrough, book in the call time, answer the questions, and I look forward to connecting with you very soon.